Welcome to Health Club with Julia. I'm your host, health coach, and registered dietitian, Julia Campagna. I'm on a mission to bridge the gap between looking your best and living your life to the fullest. After years of over dieting, struggling with disordered eating, and destroying my social life, I finally found how to reach my dream physique without sacrificing the things I love. Now I'm sharing all my strategies and education with you. We'll be talking all things health, including hormones, metabolism, and lifestyle to help you cut out the confusion and start living. So get cozy and join the club. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. As always, I'm so happy you are here. If you're listening to this and you are thinking, I'm doing everything right, so why do I still feel exhausted, inflamed, or frustrated with my cycle? Then this is going to be a great episode for you. If you're disciplined, motivated, you're health conscious, but your periods are irregular, maybe your PMS is really intense, or your energy crashes by mid-afternoon and you feel like you need to take a nap, or your body just isn't responding the way that it used to. You used to feel like everything was going great, you did everything right, and it showed, and now it's not. I want you to know something. First and foremost, that your body is not broken and you are not broken. You're not failing at health at all. But we might need to start looking a little deeper into what's going on with you. Because if you truly are doing everything correct and you just feel like you've stalled and you can't figure out why you can't progress, but you are checking off every single box, and I mean like you are accurately checking off every single box, and you are not cutting yourself short, and you are very honest with yourself, and you are indeed checking off every single box, and you still feel that way, then it's time to evaluate. With anything, I think that it's really important to evaluate the situation. So what I mean by that is, okay, maybe things are not going as great as they once were. Maybe, again, you are feeling inflamed, you are having that afternoon crash, your PMS is really terrible, and your periods are very irregular. Maybe a lot of things are going on, but I want you to evaluate. When did it start? How intense on a scale of 1 to 10 is everything? What are you doing every single day, and how consistent are you with those things? What has changed? Has there been any new big life events, moving, graduating, starting a new job, a breakup, anything big that has gone on in your life recently? I really want you to stop, pause, take a moment, and think about all of the things that could be going on that may be a source for you. But we're going to kind of flush through that today anyway. So today we're going to be talking about why so many high-achieving women struggle with hormones, even when they're doing all the quote-unquote right things, but not seeing anything, and what actually needs to change for your body to feel safe, to feel regulated and supported again. So we're going to go through all of that and what it could be, and hopefully this gives you some clarity on where you're at, what you could be doing more of, where you need to take a turn and maybe change things for yourself. So we're going to dive into all of that today. Being driven. A woman who is driven, type A, maybe high achieving, you have high expectations for yourself. This is great in some ways, and it's not in others. And I actually just had a conversation with one of my clients about this as well. We were talking through all of this and what I meant by that, but high achievers are great at discipline. Usually, again, if you're high achieving, you have high expectations for yourself, so you have deadlines that you need to meet. You're very organized. Again, you're more of that type A kind of person, and you know exactly what you want and how you need to get there. And so usually with that, discipline is pretty great for you. But that doesn't always mean regulation is great, and I feel like that is where high achievers kind of fall flat a little bit, and this is the side that's not so great with high achievers. And so you might be normalizing pushing through discomfort instead of tuning inward and navigating what you actually need on an internal standpoint. You are always so, I need to get this done, I have this deadline, I know what I need to do, I'm very disciplined, and so you just continue to push through. And at some point, your body might tell you, hey, let's put the brakes on, let's slow down, let's just take a moment here. And you might be like, absolutely not, we are full steam ahead. Because that is how you act, that is how you are. And again, that is not always a bad thing. In many circumstances, it's not a bad thing, but in some it can be. And it's frustrating because most of your habits worked at one point. You know, you were feeling really good in your skin, your periods were regular, you had the energy, all of the things were going great, and then at one point everything just kind of stopped. And so you start doing more of the things when things don't work. You're like, okay, they once worked, maybe I'm just not pushing hard enough, maybe I'm just not doing enough. And so you try to do more, but eventually that makes you feel even more disconnected from your body than before. And you start having thoughts like, okay, what's wrong with my body? What's wrong with me? Will I ever feel normal again? Will my body start working right again? What gives? Like, this used to work and now it's not. I haven't changed anything. Or maybe you have this quiet fear around fertility, if that's your goal down the line. You know, you're starting to see your hormones fall flat, your periods start to become irregular, you have more PMS, and so you're like, okay, I am maybe thinking about kids in my future, maybe there's a quiet worry about that. Even if it's not the time yet, maybe that comes up for you. Or even bigger things like, okay, what is going on inside my body? What's happening? What's wrong? Because I don't feel like me anymore. The truth is, nothing is wrong with you, and yes, you absolutely can get to a healthier place again. You can get to that place where you feel connected to your body, where you feel like everything is working as it should be working. Just because things might feel off for you right now doesn't mean that everything is totally going to be off forever and you're never going to get back to that place that you were once in. That is not true. And so I really need you to repeat that to yourself if you are going through all of those thoughts, like, what's wrong with me? What about my fertility? What about my hormone health? How is this impacting me? What am I doing wrong? If you're starting to have all of these thoughts, I need you to understand that that is just the current circumstance, but it does not mean that it is forever, and you can reconnect to your body, feel safe, feel regulated, feel supported, and feel like things are working for you again. Your body has adapted to keep you safe. This isn't a willpower issue. This isn't just, okay, I need to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Your hormones just respond to safety. They respond best when your body feels safe, not when it feels pressured. So when you start to go, okay, you know, this once worked, I'm at this place, I don't know what's happening, I just gotta do more, I gotta do more, that's where your body starts to resist even more. Instead of doing what you want it to do, it's now resisting. You're getting disconnected. Your body's not feeling safe. So we need to get back to that place of homeostasis, to feel safe again, to reconnect, and to actually see the progress and the results forward that you once saw and want to continue to see. So why might this be happening for you? There's several reasons why this could be happening, and so without knowing you as an individual right now, I can't give you the exact answer as to what's happening with you. I can't find that root cause when I don't know you specifically. But some big, maybe subconscious things that could be happening that are usually one of the top contributors is, one, chronic stress. This is very, very common in high-achieving women, type A women, because you're always so, I'm gonna do this, and I have deadlines, and I want to do this perfectly, and I need to get it done, so I'm gonna push my sleep off to get this done. And you know, you have so many expectations of yourself that stress is usually, I won't say always, but it is usually high in high-achieving women. So chronic stress leads to cortisol issues. Cortisol issues leads to suppressed ovulation, which lowers your progesterone, which can cause infertility issues, which is just like a downward cycle to other things going on. So, number one reason why this might be happening is your chronic stress. Another reason why things might be happening is insulin resistance. Again, this can happen in everyone, in high-achieving women specifically, the type A women, the women that just feel like they're always got things to do and they have to get it done and they have high expectations of themselves. This could be for several different reasons. It could be nutrition-based, exercise-based, it could be lots of different reasons, but I would definitely check in with your blood sugar, your insulin, see if there's anything going on in that realm. So that would, I'd say, is probably another big issue. Thirdly is, again, nutrition-based. I would say under-eating. It's kind of, I don't know, when I think about high-achieving women and women with high expectations, it really can go either way. You either are under-eating because you're always so busy. So think about it, right? Like you have maybe a 9 to 5 and you have meetings all day and again, deadlines that you have to hit. And so one, you're up maybe early and, you know, getting in the shower, getting ready and running out the door. So maybe you grab something on your way out or you skip breakfast, you just grab a coffee or something like that. Then you're in meetings all day. So you either eat lunch or skip lunch and then you come home and you have your dinner and go to bed. So you're probably under eating. On the other hand, because there's more stress involved, I feel like with high achieving women, that can also add to the like emotional eating side of it, where you might be skipping out on meals during the day, but get home and kind of like binge because one, you're so hungry, two, you're so stressed out that you turn to food for that. So it really can go either way, but I want to talk to the under eating specifically because I do feel like this is very, very common, even I don't know about more so than the opposite, but it's very common. And even if this is unintentional, even if you think that you're eating enough, you could still not be, and it's very easy to not eat enough. So this in your body is perceived scarcity. Your body downregulates, it's focusing on what is most important when it's not getting enough energy in the form of food to perform every function. Okay, then what functions are most important? And so that can downregulate your digestion. Your reproductive health is one of those things that goes down, because if we're trying to live, we don't really need to reproduce, we just need to be living, you know? So it can downregulate your reproductive health, so that impacts hormones. This is where you also might find some of that blood sugar issue that I had mentioned, and why I said top 2 is, you know, stress, but also blood sugar and insulin resistance, because this can be very common with nutrition issues in high achieving women as well. And then another thing, maybe overtraining to compensate. If you are feeling like nothing is working, you might turn to exercise to compensate and say like, okay, maybe I just have to do more cardio, or I have to work out harder, or whatever the case is. You might turn to that and just try to push your body to higher limits because nothing else is working. So compensation through exercise can also cause some nervous system overload, which again affects your cortisol, adrenals, all of that realm, which impacts your entire body. So this all ties back to symptoms. If any of these things or multiple of these things sound like you, this can cause hormonal issues in multiple different ways. So it can elevate your PMS and make your PMS worse. It can cause irregular cycles. It can cause low progesterone. It can cause acne, bloating, inflammation in the body, fatigue, weight resistance. So there's a lot of different things that can happen just if you have any of those things going on. So check in with yourself. Are you doing any of those things? And really be honest with yourself and see where you're at. Where do you think your stress levels are at? How do you perceive your nutrition to be and your training? What about your insulin resistance, blood sugar? Do you feel any symptoms related to that? And or maybe you get labs done and you kind of check in a little bit deeper on that. And this is kind of veering off, but it's going to come back in this episode, so I just want to mention this as well. But I want to touch on cycle tracking for a moment, because I think this could be a great tool if used correctly to help minimize your hormone/body worry and also pinpoint areas of improvement. So I want to mention this here because I was saying, like, chronic stress is an issue, insulin resistance is an issue, but through tracking our cycle and understanding the health status of our cycle, we can actually figure out, okay, maybe it is a cortisol issue or insulin issue, inflammation issue, whatever issue it might be. Tracking your cycle can actually help identify that for us as well. So I just wanted to kind of side note, but it is relevant to what I'm talking about right now. We'll come back to that, but yeah, so that's what I want to talk about, and I'm going to go more in depth with this. You know what? I'll just go more in depth with it now. So I'm not going to go too far into cycle tracking because I do have other episodes more specific to cycle tracking, but just to help you out, because I had mentioned tracking your cycle can help pinpoint areas of improvement and things that might be askew. You know, how do we even also go about this? And I want to touch on this stuff because I said if used correctly, this can be really helpful. And I want to emphasize that point as well, because if you cycle track, but you have no idea what you're looking at, you don't know how to interpret what you're looking at, it can also just add more anxiety to your plate and cause you to spiral even more and cause more stress and worse cortisol and other issues as well. So I do want to kind of just like talk through this to help you feel more confident with cycle tracking without going too deep in it, because again, I have other episodes directly related to cycle tracking. So first thing is apps and then knowing your body. So obviously I think apps are a useful tool. I use an app called Natural Cycles to track my cycle. There are different tools to use. There's the Mira or the Anito, which are kind of similar, which uses an app. There's the app Flow. There's a lot of different apps. However, again, that can cause some anxiety if you don't know what you're looking at. So I do suggest, if you are interested in starting to track your cycle, go back to, and I'll link it in the show notes for you, but I do have a cycle tracking episode that I want you to listen to. At the same time, you have to understand body literacy as well. So apps, all electronics and internet, all of that is so great. I do appreciate how far we've come with all of this and how helpful it is. At the same time, like I said, it can cause more anxiety, overwhelm, especially if you don't know what you're looking at or don't know how to interpret it. So that's why I say turn to body literacy also. Use both hand in hand. They coexist. They need to go together, because your body will also give you signs, signals, help you understand if something is off or working fantastic. If things are regular, irregular, tune into your body literacy as well, because that is ultimately your best go-to piece of evidence that you need. Now again, tracking data without interpretation can cause anxiety and more overwhelm, and I don't want that to turn you away from cycle tracking or make you think even more so that something's wrong with you, because I'm talking about all of this with high achieving women and how they get to this point and then they're like, okay, what's wrong with me? What's going on with my body? And I don't want you to go down that hole even more with tracking data. But I do think that having some data is helpful. You just have to understand what it all means and how to look at that, how to interpret that. And so again, I'm going to kind of veer you to my cycle tracking episode, so I'll spare us the conversation on that right now. Also, with cycle tracking, something to keep in note of is if your cycle isn't perfect, which you can also use your body literacy for, you may feel panicked. You might feel, again, like, okay, what's wrong with me? What's going on? Why is this happening? Is this going to be forever or not? What can I do? And it can kind of make you feel panicked, which I do feel like can potentially happen with cycle tracking when you see the data more. But also, even without cycle tracking, your body will let you know if your cycle is not perfect also. So, like, whether you're tracking or not, your body will let you know. And another note on this is, that kind of goes along with feeling panicked, is there's a difference between obsessive versus intentional cycle tracking. I feel like the obsessive part comes out more when somebody does not have a great cycle and they're trying to figure out why. They can get really obsessive with the data that is seen and then start Googling things, and then that's a whole rabbit hole that you don't want to go down, versus intentionally tracking, even if your cycle isn't perfect, but knowing what things mean and knowing how to fix them is more intentional, and you're using tracking and the data points to improve rather than become obsessive and worried. So I want to mention that as well. But all in all, that's just like some points I wanted to give about cycle tracking, because I love cycle tracking. I track with my clients, I track with myself. It is super, super helpful if you know what you are doing and what you're looking at and what it means. I don't want it to become something that you feel panicked or obsessed over or worried about. Tracking your cycle should make you feel calmer and more confident and connected to your body, not more anxious and disconnected. So that's what I'll say on cycle tracking. But I do think too, with all of this that I'm talking about today, it can be helpful to understand what's going on inside your body a little bit more. If you're at this point where you're like, okay, what's happening? My body's not working the way that it should. I'm doing all the quote unquote right things, but now my cycle's off and now I'm, having all these issues. That can be very helpful. But I just wanted to note those things. Anyway, all in all, the women who finally feel better, so they're at this point, they're like, what the heck do I do? What's wrong with me? What's going on? They finally feel better when they aren't doing more. And that might sound really crazy to you. You're like, what? You have to do less to improve? And I'm not necessarily saying that they're doing less. They may be. But what I am saying is that they're doing things differently. And that's the big key that I want you to think about. They're not doing more, they're doing things differently. So instead of just guessing about what they need to do or what's going on with them, they're actually assessing what's going on. Okay, I already talked about this, but what has changed in your life? How consistent you are. Assessing yourself, and then also assessing the situation and looking at different data points and saying like, oh, this may be the issue for me. Let me start there, and then I'll see if there's any changes that happen. So they assess instead of guess. They also learn their cycle language. So again, this goes back to tracking and your body literacy, but they understand your cycle language. So progesterone, estrogen, how that works in their body, what ovulation looks like, feels like, how we know that we ovulate or not ovulate, what is a normal, proper period length, period flow, cycle length altogether. They understand their cycle language in that sense, that they know more about their cycle and they can connect deeper with their body in that way. They also integrate nutrition, training, lifestyle changes intentionally. Again, keyword is intentionally here. You're not just doing arbitrary things just because and testing things out. You're doing things based on the facts that you have about yourself and what you need to do from there. They're also creating habits and grounding these habits into real life situations, learning the life skills and habits necessary to keep improving the way that they want to. And they are normalizing and navigating imperfect cycles. So if they have imperfect cycles, again, they understand what's going on. They understand why it's going on, and then they're navigating what they need to do based on that. And so they have this kind of like identity shift. Once they go through all of these things, they're assessing, they're learning, they're grounding their habits, they're intentionally changing different things, they are navigating their cycles and what they need to do. They go from confusion and overwhelm to clarity. They go from forcing things and just trying to do more to aligning everything intentionally. They go from anxiety, stress, uncertainty to self-trust. These are all the identity shifts that they have once they understand their body, connect with their body, know what they need to do. They can have all of these identity shifts and feel so much better. And that's the first step, is just that in and of itself. And so I want you to think about this for a second. If you are, again, somebody who's listening to this and you are connecting to this person that I said, you are like, I'm doing everything right. I think I'm doing everything right. I feel exhausted. I have my mid-afternoon crash. I feel inflamed all the time. My gut health is really bad. I'm frustrated with my cycle because it's very irregular. I don't know what's happening. My PMS sucks. I'm moody. I have pain, cramps, all that stuff. If you are at that place, I want you to take a moment and think about what the identity shift could look like for you. So think about what it's like for you to have predictable cycles. Comes at the same time every single month. You know what to expect. You know how long your period is every single time it's consistent. You know what the flow is like every single time it's consistent. So even if you're traveling or going somewhere, you know how many tampons you need to bring, what you are prepared. So your cycles are very predictable and they're easy. You don't have to think twice about them. It just happens naturally for you. Your PMS is minimal. You don't have the pain. You don't have all the cramping. You don't have the mood swings or the fatigue or the brain fog or the migraines or anything else that you feel with your PMS. You don't have that anymore. You have steady energy. No more mid-afternoon crashes or feeling like you need to take a nap at 3 p.m. while you're still at work, or feel like you're dragging every single morning out of bed. You have steady energy to last all day. You wake up, you get out of bed, you're like, I got this, I got the day. I feel good in the morning, I'm feeling good in the afternoon. Maybe when you get home from work, you're like, all right, I'm kind of tired, which is fairly normal with a high-achieving job and work in general. But your energy is steady. You're able to get everything that you need to get done with clarity. You have a calm relationship with food and exercise. Again, you don't feel like you're forcing anything. You don't feel like you need to be doing more just because. You don't feel like you're burning yourself out with exercise. You have a healthy relationship with food. You have normal hunger cues. You eat your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you are serving your body the way that it needs to be served with food and exercise. You have confidence in fertility. There's no more fear about, okay, I want kids, but my cycle is all over the place. What is that going to mean for me? Now you have those predictable cycles. You have minimal PMS. You know that your fertility is in a better place. So no matter when that time comes for you, you feel confident that it's going to happen. You trust in your body again. You're not worried about what's wrong with me, what's wrong with my body, what's going on. Is this my new normal? Will I ever feel healthy again? You trust your body. You know that it is working to serve you, that it is working to give you the life that you are currently living. You know what it does, how it operates, and you can connect with it deeper. And imagine for me again that you don't dread your period. You know exactly how to support your body. So if something goes astray again, instead of spiraling, you're like, nope, I know what I need to do. You feel calm instead of constantly questioning yourself. And big part here, with everything I just said, on top of all of that, and that identity shift that you have, and all of the good that comes out of it, you are still able to be the high-achieving woman you want to be. You still are the type A woman. You still get things done. You are still very disciplined in your work. You still succeed at work. You are very successful in your job. You still are that woman that you want to be, but the other half of you, the health side of you, has improved so much. So that's what I want you to imagine. And so if this episode felt like I was inside your head, I was talking to you, I want you to know that you're not alone. And you don't have to figure this out by yourself. This is exactly the work I do inside of my program Emerge, where I help high-achieving women understand their hormones. They understand their cycle. They regulate their cycle. They track their cycle with conviction and confidence. They're not afraid. They don't worry. They don't second-guess themselves. They trust their body, and they understand because they've learned and they've connected on a much deeper level with their body. So they feel in tune with themselves at all times. They feel confident in their bodies again. Their bodies are operating the way that they should. Their life has changed. So, if you're curious about any of this, if you feel like you're at this dead end and you don't know where to go from here, you can DM me on Instagram. I will link my Instagram in the notes below so you can just easily click on it and go from there. DM me the word emerge, and we.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Health Club with Julia podcast. If you love the episode, share the podcast and tag me, and subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM. Thanks for being a part of the club. See you next time.